Don't panic. Don't panic. Don't give up. Don't get frustrated. Don't throw in the towel. Don't let nobody talk you out of it. You in a dark place because God needed a personal space to grow you, develop you, and mature you. While you're standing, turn your Bible to the book of Genesis, chapter 32. Run down to verse 24, and I'll meet you there in just a second. Let me bring those who are first-time guests, those who are watching via social media. We're now in week 4 of our March series entitled March into a Better You. March into a Better You. Let me open up this morning by sharing with you, no matter what you've been through, no matter what you're going through, this is a fact you can hang your hat on. The mere fact God woke you up today should encourage you to believe it's not too late to march into becoming a better you. The fact God woke you up lets you know there's still time for you to win. There's still time for you to overcome. There's still time for you to become the best you can be. When we get to the book of Genesis, we will see our biblical example this morning will be Jacob. And let me slow down and tell you a little bit about Jacob before we go into the message. Jacob dealt with family dysfunction. Jacob dealt with early childhood issues. Jacob made several bad decisions, but he overcame all of that and marched to becoming a better person. Genesis chapter 32, look at verse 24. This is how bad I want this morning. Everything that has stopped you, hunted you, and delayed your progress, we're going to cut it down today. Dysfunctional family, we're going to cut it down. If you don't like the fruit on your family tree, cut a new branch down. If you've been through some stuff and you made some bad decisions, today we're going to cut you loose from your past. I would not allow anyone connected to me to stay down, to stay in a funk, to stay in a suffering place. We're going to cut down everything that stops you from reaching your full potential. Are you ready this morning to cut it loose? In the book of Genesis, chapter 32, if you can hear me, shout amen. In the book of Genesis, chapter 32, run down to verse number 24, and remain standing with you to verse 28. I'm reading from the NIV Bible this morning. So Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him to daybreak. When the man saw he could not overpower him, he touched the socket of Jacob's hip, so his hip was wrenched as he wrestled with this man. Then the man said, "Let me go, for it is daybreak." But Jacob replied, like the crazy family chainsaw, "I would not let you go unless you bless me." The man asked him, "What is your name?" "Jacob," he answered. Verse 28 in conclusion. Then the man said, "Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with humans and have overcome." Take your seat and say, "March into a better you." This morning I'm going to use a literary style called frame story or story within a story, because you do know that everybody has a story within the story, and what you see is not the conclusion or the finale of your story, but there's a story behind every story. And sometimes we get confused. We get in a certain frame of their life, and we try to categorize and box them into the frame of life we let them at. They weren't always where they are. They've been through some stuff. So frame by frame, story by story, the whole thing has to unfold for God to get the glory. And this style takes you where you start a story not at the beginning of the story, but at the end of the story, and then you go back to the beginning and work frame by frame so you get excited about what's getting ready to go on. See, many of you did not get excited when you heard Jacob overcame. When you heard Jacob overcame his issues and Jacob was blessed by God, many of you could not relate or get excited because you don't know Jacob's full story. Oh, but once you know Jacob's full story, it will encourage you that you too still have time to win. You still have time to become better. After all Jacob went through, God still kept his hand on Jacob's life. That's good news for somebody. I want you to do one thing. Stand up again with me one more time. Step one more time. I want you to shout with me. It won't end, how it started.
It won't.
That wasn't strong enough. Don't tell your neighbor, point to yourself, say, it won't end how it started. Now tell God, thank you. So now we just saw, the Bible says Jacob wrestled and won. But how did he get here? Is anybody in this house grateful that God gave you victory in spite of all you've been through?
Yes,
Let me get a little church in real quick. Anybody here can be real with themselves, say, I thank God I don't look like what I actually went through. After all I've done and I'm still here, can anybody give God that kind of praise when everybody thought it was over, when everybody walked out on me, when everybody talked about me, yet God kept me? Is there anybody in this house with that kind of story, with that kind of praise? I may be going through something, but thank God, God has got us. I think I'm in the right house. Now, let's walk through this Bible. Genesis chapter 25. It tells the birth of Jacob. Go with me there. Genesis chapter 25. Thank God. Verse 24 through 26. I'm going to give you a lot of Bible today, but a lot of revelation. The birth of Jacob. I'm going to tag this, born this way. Born this way. Genesis chapter 25, verse 24. When the time came for her to give birth, there were twin boys in her womb. The first to come out was red, and his whole body was like a hairy garment, so they named him Esau. Verse 26, after this, his brother came out with his hand grasping Esau's heel, so they named him Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when Rebekah gave him sons. Watch this. Jacob was trying to get ahead by any means, even his mother's womb. You're going to get this in a second. He was born like this. Watch this. A past lesson. Remember David said that I came out of my mother's womb sinful because my mother was a sinner? He claimed that generational curse. He was dealing with his mother's issues. And we referred in reference to Prince, I'm like my mother. I'm never satisfied. David was not coerced to be that way. Jacob was not taught to be that way. Even in his mother's womb, he was that way. I know we tend to brush folks up and say, I was born that way, and true indeed, some folks were born that way. Some folks came out mad. But we're gonna break that curse today. Hey, we don't get to choose where we start, but we can choose to march to becoming better. And we can choose where we end up at. See, you didn't get a chance to pick your zip code. You didn't get a chance to pick your mama nor your daddy, but you can pick how your story ends. Jacob, watch this now, watch this. Jacob had not been exposed to a competitive world, yet he was filled with a super aggressive competitive spirit that caused him to mistreat, hurt, and deceive others if that's what it took for him to achieve his selfish goals. My question is, where did Jacob learn how to be a conniving schemer? In his mother's womb, he was trying to pull his own brother down. In his mother's womb, he was trying to get ahead of his brother. Where did he learn how to misbehave like this? He was born like this. I know the church don't want to hear that. But there are some dysfunctional people in your family that was not exposed to dysfunction. They were